Hey y'all, good morning. Um, hey, I am so sorry I'm not there again today. I have got a lot of meetings going on, and it is crazy. I would much rather be there with you, but alas, I'm not. So, I hope you have said your daily mantra. If you have not said your daily mantra, go ahead and you can just say it to yourself right now. No problem. I'll wait. Go ahead. I'll say it with you. I'll actually say it with you. Here we go on the count of three. One, two, three. I am good at math. Boom. Okay, now that that's done, let's talk about Module 1.9. So, you guys saw something similar to this on the homework from last night, the set from 1.1, and hopefully you did something like this on the warm up. I know everybody did the warm up, so good job. If you didn't do the warm up, pause this and go do the warm up. Come on. If you did do the warm up, let's proceed. So, here is the situation here. We are trying to figure out what this guy is right here, right? So how do we do that? They have told us that this is an arithmetic series, right? So if it is an arithmetic series, hang on, I'm trying to write some things. Here we go. Arithmetic. What does that mean? What does that mean we're doing? Anyone? Anyone? Good. That means that we are adding or subtracting a common difference, right? So, if we're adding or subtracting something, that makes this a little bit easier. And I know it's a common difference, so it's the same thing. So I've added the same thing between here, and then again from here to here. So, let's think about how we're going to do this. I would love for you actually to pause this for just a second and turn to your neighbor, make sure your neighbor's at the same spot, and just share with them something that you might think about doing to try and figure out what this little in-between guy is on step 2. So think about that for a second, pause it, discuss with your neighbor, and then come back to me. Okay, hopefully you talked to your neighbor just now about what you did to find this. Now, I want to share with you a couple of things that I have heard people saying in some of my classes. First, I have some people saying, oh, I just wrote out all the numbers between these two steps, and I found what the middle number was, which was bing, 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 8, right? So it would make sense that 8 would be the number that goes into that blank. I think it's a fantastic idea, and it kind of gets to the point of what we're trying to do, right? But the problem is we are going to get to some sequences here before too long that are going to take a lot more writing than just 5 to 11. It might be like 5 to 600, and I don't want you to have to write out 595 numbers between 5 and 600. So let's think of another way that we might be able to do this. Somebody else told me that what they did is they took the average between 5 and 11, since they knew that this had to be the exact middle point between 5 and 11. They just took the average. So if you remember how to find the average, you have to add the two things together. So we're taking the 5 and the 11, adding those together, and then dividing by 2, because there are two of them. So 5 plus 11 is 16, and then 16 divided by 2 is 8. Oh, hey, look at that. We came up with the same number. Okay, so there are a couple of different ways to do this. I'm going to, I want to share with you the way that I would do this. I'm going to say to myself, there are 1, 2 steps, 2 jumps between 5 and 11, right? And I know that both of these numbers, whatever I'm adding here, have to be the exact same thing, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to find the difference between 5 and 11. So I'm going to do some subtracting here. So the difference, let me write this one down. So I'm going to say, okay, the difference between 11 minus 5, that is, what is that difference? 6. So I know that to get from 5 all the way over to 11, that is 6 numbers, right? 6 stops on the way. Now I know that my jumps, my steps, are divided into 2. There are 2 common differences that show up here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my 6 down here, right down yonder, and I'm just going to divide that 6 by 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. So that I know is going to be my common difference. So there are 2 jumps. So I took the total distance between 5 and 11 and divided it by 2 to figure out what each one of those common differences were. And I know that it's 3. So then I can just do the same thing and say, oh, if I'm starting at 5 and I'm using the common difference, 5 plus 3 is in fact 8. So we found 8. Okay, so we have 3 different ways to find 8. So hopefully, here's my little lightsaber here. Hopefully one of these methods worked for you. Go ahead and turn this off and share with your neighbor. If you had a different method than this, share with your neighbor that method. If you didn't have a different method than this, share with your neighbor which one of these you liked the best. So pause this, talk to your neighbor about number 1, and then come back and we'll go over number 2. Okay, y'all, so here we are on number 2. On number 2, we are still dealing with arithmetic series. Which means, remember, that we are adding or subtracting. So this makes it a little bit easier for us. So I showed you 3 different methods from the last example. So we're going to talk about those 3 methods here. So we're going from 18 all the way down to -10. Now notice I said we're going down to -10. So does that mean we're adding or subtracting? Anyone? Anyone? Correct. We are subtracting. So I know that I'm going to have a common difference that is negative because I'm going down. So I don't necessarily want to use the first method that I showed you last time, which was writing out all the numbers, because there's a big difference between 18 and -10. That's a long way to go on the number line. So I think I'm going to skip that one. I could probably use the average to find step 3 here, because that is exactly in the middle. But then that leaves me a little lost on how to find step 2 and step 4. So what I would love for you to do is to pause this and see, are you cool with using the averages? Do you think the average method works? Go ahead and give it a try, and then come back and show me what you have for step 3. So pause, find step 3, you can use the average, or something. If you want to use something else, but see if you can find that middle step for me, and then come back. Okay, I hope you're back. Did you find step 3 using the averages? If you did, hopefully you did, check in with your neighbor and see if you got the same answer for step 3. I am going to show you that last method, which again is my favorite method, which doesn't include an average. So what I'm going to do is, golly, how do I want to do this? So hang on, let me make some edits real quick. I think I'm just going to cover up. Okay, I am going to show you the step method, finding the common difference. So here is 18, here is -10. We need all of these blanks between. These blanks, by the way, are called arithmetic means. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the arithmetic means between there. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 steps to get from 18 down to negative 10. I had to jump 4 times. And remember, each time I'm adding the same value, or I guess subtracting the same value since we know it's negative. So whatever that common difference is, it's the same thing every single time. So now I want to ask myself, what is the overall distance between 18 all the way down to negative 10? What's the overall distance I need to cover? So the way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to say 18 minus negative 10. Don't forget to put that negative 10 in parentheses, because what's about to happen? I have 2 minus signs. So what happens when you have 2 negative signs right next to each other? That's right, they turn into a positivo, a positive sign. So that's going to be 18 plus 10, and 18 plus 10, I believe, is 28. So that means all the way from here, 18, to get all the way over to negative 10, that is 28. Okay, so I'm covering 28 between here and here. Now, if I have to go 28, and that's 4 steps of the same common difference, how can I find out what this common difference is? What am I doing here? What am I doing? Anybody? That's right, I'm going to take that 28 and I'm going to divide by 4. So let's do that real quick. I'm going to say not 18, golly, it's 28. Go back. 28 divided by 4. And if you type that into your calculator or check into your multiplication facts in your brain, I think you will find that 28 divided by 4 is in fact 7. Now we know, since we're going down, we're going from 18 to negative 10, we're subtracting 7 each time. So let's fill out this table for this first bit. 18 minus 7, let me change this to minus 7 right here. I'll change all those guys to minus 7, so this will be a little easier to do. I just gotta erase those. Good. So minus 7. So 18 minus 7 is what? 11. Good. 11 minus 7, that's our common difference. Same thing. 11 minus 7 is 4. Hooray! And then we're going to do 4 minus 7 again, because it's our common difference. So 4 minus 7 is negative 3. Indeed. And then we always want to double check, make sure that our last one goes to the number that we're looking for. So this is also a minus 7. And is negative 3 minus 7? Negative 3 minus 7. Is that negative 10? You bet your boots it is. Which means that our table is correct. Okay, I'm going to do number 3 with you, and then the rest of this you're going to do on your own. So pause. Check in with your neighbor, make sure that you understand everything that I just talked about, and then go to number 3. Okay, here we are on number 3. I hope that you paused and took a second to understand number 2 before you came here. So let's do this one. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing as I did last one. I could use the average to find this middle guy right here. Find the number 4 because it's the exact middle. So I can use the average to find that, but then I'm still stuck as to how to find step number 2, step number 3, step number 5, and step number 6. So I'm going to use the method I used last time, and you don't have to use this method. If you have a method that works better, that you think is thebomb.com, then use that method. That's totally cool. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to see how many steps it takes me to get from the 12 all the way to the negative 6. Ooh, are we going up or going down? What do you think? From 12 to negative 6. We are, I hope you said going down, which means we are subtracting a common difference. So let's see how many steps we had to take. We went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 whole steps, a long way. 6 steps to get from 12 down to negative 6. So each one of those is the same common difference. So then, remember, we need to find what is the distance covered between 12 and negative 6. So how can we find out the distance between those two? Hopefully, you said, let's subtract. So let's subtract it. Let's find the distance. So 12 minus negative 6. And then remember, we have two negatives right there. And two negatives always make a positive. So that's going to be 12 plus 6, which is in fact 18. So the distance between 12 and negative 6 is a whopping 18. So I had to cover 18 in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps. So each one of those steps is going to be worth 18 divided into 6 steps. That's going to be worth 3. So this, my friends, remember, is the common difference. And we already said that we were going to be going down, so we need to be subtracting this 3 right here. So let's go up to our fancy little table here, and I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to minus 3 for all of these, just so you're paying attention. Minus 3, minus 3, minus 3, minus 3, minus 3, minus 3. And then let's go for it. Let's plug it all in. So 12 minus 3 is 9, so that's going to be step 2. 9 minus 3 is 6, so that's going to be step 3. 6 minus 3 is 3. It's going to be step 4. 3 minus 3 is 0. That'll be step 5. 0 minus 3 is negative 3. Step 6, and let's double check to see if this works out. Negative 3 minus 3 is definitely negative 6. So that means that we're correct. We have found the correct common difference, and we have found all of those arithmetic means. Okay, what I want you to do is to finish the rest of these problems. There are more of these tables on the next page, so I want you to practice this with those tables. And also, like I said, if you have another method that you think is rad, use that other method. And then when I'm back on Tuesday, we can chat about it. I want to hear all about your fancy methods. But you can also feel free to use mine. And then your homework tonight, y'all. I know you've probably already seen it on the board, but just in case you haven't, your homework is going to be a little practice worksheet where you can practice these skills, get solidified on how to find all those missing arithmetic means. So do those. Feel free to work with your neighbors on that. But please, 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 y'all, be nice. Be quiet. Don't get up and wander around out of your seat. And keep on task, because on Tuesday we're going to hit the ground running. And I want to make sure that you guys feel good about all these arithmetic means and stuff like that. Okay, if you have any problems, send me an email, and y'all have a fantastic week. And I miss you, and I'll see you on Tuesday. Okay,